to today's episode of Mental Health is Horrifying. I'm your Horror Barbie host of darkness, Candace Green, psychotherapist and all-around spooky bitch, podcasting from my bat-filled cave in Toronto, Canada. The world has felt particularly heavy lately, and this past Friday, we were all collectively kicked in the face upon finding out that one of our Canadian icons, the great Catherine O'Hara, had passed away. When I found this out, I was shocked. I remember reading the headline 3 or 4 times, trying to make sense and understand what I was reading. I started crying. I felt an overwhelming sadness, like my own mother had just died, who I then immediately called to make sure she was okay. And then I thought, that's interesting. I never even knew this woman personally, and I'm so upset. What is going on here? We do not know our favorite actresses, authors, or singers personally, and yet they leave indelible marks on our souls. They touch us so deeply. They speak to parts of us that feel lonely or left behind or broken. In Catherine O'Hara's case, she made us laugh. She provided sanctuary to spooky misfits, and she was so warm that it truly felt like we knew her. What indeed is going on here is a psychological phenomenon called transference. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about the great Catherine O'Hara and how we create and love people we never even knew through transference. Also, as a sidebar, if you notice that I'm lisping a little bit, I just got Invisalign and I'm learning how to talk again. Please respect my journey.
Hi, I'm Moira Rose, and if you love fruit wine as much as I do, then you'll appreciate the craftsmanship and quality of a local vintner who brings the muskmelon goodness to his oak Chardonnay and the dazzling peach crab apple to his Riesling Rioja. Come taste the difference good fruit can make in your wine. You'll remember the experience, and you'll remember the name, Herb Ervlinger. Bert Herngave. Irv Hermlinger. Bing Livehanger. Liveling. Bert Herkern. Bingo Ling.
Catherine O'Hara was born and raised in Toronto and was a brilliant Canadian comedic actor whose career spanned some 50 years. She joined Second City in her early 20s, then became a regular cast member on its television show SCTV, performing with fellow Canadian comedy legends Eugene Levy, John Candy, Joe Flaherty, Andrea Martin, Harold Ramis, Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas, and Martin Short. In fact, the house that many of the SCTV actors lived in during the O'Hara era is not 10 minutes from where I live right now, making her feel even more like one of us, just a regular Canadian girl who lived down the street. Throughout her career, she became known for her hilarious portrayal of characters like Moira Rose in Schitt's Creek, Cookie Fleck in Best in Show, and Kate McAllister, aka Kevin's mom in Home Alone. O'Hara is also an icon in the spooky/Halloween community, best known for her roles in Beetlejuice and The Nightmare Before Christmas. In 2017, O'Hara received the Governor General's Award of Canada for being a cultural trailblazer who helped pave the way for the next generation of women in comedy. She was invested as an Officer of the Order of Canada in 2018 and was the 2021 recipient of the Governor General's Performing Arts Award for Lifetime Artistic Achievement. She met her husband, production designer Bo Welch, on the set of Beetlejuice. They married in 1992 and had 2 children, sons Matthew and Luke. For all the accolades and awards she received, O'Hara told CBC Arts back in 2023 that her greatest legacy was the love of her family. "I want my kids to love me," she said. "That's all." Do you remember being a little kid in school and having that one amazing teacher? She was so warm and kind, and you imagine that when she went home from school, that she sat by a warm fire with her cat and hand-knit sweaters for orphaned raccoons. And if you were in French immersion like me, the word that we used for teacher was madame, and it was horrifyingly similar to the word for mother, maman. So it was inevitable that one day you would call your teacher maman in front of the whole class and then turn bright red from embarrassment. And it wasn't just because those two words were similar. It was because you were transferring any feelings or hope you had for your relationship with your own mother onto this nice maternal lady. This is an example of transference. Transference is the psychological phenomenon where you unconsciously direct feelings or desires related to an important figure in your life, such as a parent, sibling, friend, or nemesis, towards someone who is not that person. This might sound a lot like projection, but there is a key difference. In projection, you are attributing your own feelings to another person, like, I'm not insecure, you're insecure. But in transference, the way you feel about someone is felt toward a different person, i.e., you remind me of my best friend, so I like you. The term transference was originally coined to refer to what happens in the relationship between client and therapist, where clients transfer feelings about important people in their lives onto their therapist. This goes hand in hand with original theories about how therapists should present as blank slates, meaning that in the old-timey Freudian times, therapists would be these mysterious creatures who would never smile or cry or emote or react to anything, so that clients could imagine them to be whoever they needed them to be. Very few therapists are blank slates today. It's become kind of impossible, and many clients seem to prefer that their therapist is a human with feelings and a personality. I mean, unless their therapist is ChatGPT, but that's a whole other episode of this podcast that I just don't want to make. Getting back to transference, there are a few different kinds within the therapeutic context.
I sense there's something in the wind that feels like tragedies at hand.
Idealized transference occurs when someone assumes that their therapist has certain positive characteristics, like, I love my therapist. She is so kooky and eccentric like my mom. She probably goes home and talks to her wigs. Negative transference is when someone attributes negative qualities to their therapist, like, this woman thinks she knows everything. It's like, oh, I'm so smart. I know words like transference. These transferred feelings tend to be based on previous relationships from the client's past, i.e., if the client had a know-it-all sister who got all the awards at school and got a scholarship and it was all Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. There is also something called erotic transference, where clients fall in love or have the hots for their therapist simply because of the nature of the therapeutic relationship, where the client feels tended to, cared for, and understood in a way that they have maybe never felt before. Do you remember that girl on TikTok who made a 30-part series about how she felt like her psychiatrist had induced her to fall in love with him and that he secretly was also in love with her? And both of her AI therapists, named Henry and Claude respectively, confirm this? Yes, this is an example of erotic transference. And it's very normal for this to occur in therapy. Transferences are normal. And I mean, if you bring them into the therapeutic relationship and talk about them with your therapist and use them to work through feelings about the person that they are based on rather than making a 30-part TikTok series, transference actually presents a beneficial therapeutic opportunity for healing. The transference can be used to try to understand and work through relational issues and patterns that the client is experiencing outside of therapy. For example, if a client gets annoyed every time their therapist challenges them on a cognitive distortion, the therapist would be wise to track this recurring reaction and bring it up to the client. It may be the case that the client is transferring feelings that they had towards their own mother, let's say, who was invalidating of their feelings or never believed them, onto the therapist. Okay, let the unpacking begin, sister. Tell me about your mother and how you're so annoyed with her. There is something called countertransference as well, which refers to when the therapist has reactions towards their client and their feelings. It is inevitable for therapists to have certain feelings about their clients, idealized or negative, or erotic, which, you want to stay on top of that. They may be partly linked to external factors that have nothing to do with them, such as their client's resemblance to their ex-boyfriend who missed their 30th birthday because he, quote, had to prioritize his gaming. It is very important that therapists be aware of their countertransference so that we don't inadvertently dump misplaced feelings onto our clients. Like if they bring up their love for Fortnite and then the therapist, remembering their horrible ex-boyfriend, responds with, "Oh, really? You love Fortnite? Do you love Fortnite more than your girlfriend? Did you ever think about how this impacts her? God, you're so selfish." That would be bad.
I'm here with you. I will live with you in this hellhole, but I must express myself. If you don't let me gut out this house and make it my own, I will go insane and I will take you with me.
Transference is not something that only happens inside a therapy room. Transference occurs in everyday life when we transfer feelings we have about someone in our life onto someone else. When I noticed my extreme sadness at the news of Catherine O'Hara's passing, I started noticing all the feelings that I had transferred to her from my own life and the way I created her into the person I needed her to be. We don't know celebrities personally. We know them only insofar as the characters they play and the image we create of them. Catherine O'Hara and the way we love her is a prime example of idealized transference, where she represents our highest ideals and aspirations. As a collective, she represents the very best of what we want to see in the world. Catherine O'Hara was our collective mother in so many roles. In Home Alone, she was our beautiful, loving, if not forgetful, mother. When Kevin runs into her arms on Christmas morning, we feel that hug deep inside our souls and remember the hugs our own mothers gave us on Christmas, the ones we never got or will never get again. In Beetlejuice, she is the mother who never quite understood us, who we were nonetheless captivated by, and who we longed for. Her glamour, her ravenous need to redecorate, and her ability to break out into possessed song at a dinner table filled with guests enthralled us. In Schitt's Creek, O'Hara is our ridiculous, kooky, artistic, if not a little self-obsessed mother who was a little hard to connect with or understand, but in the end who always showed up for us when it mattered. Even if our own mothers did not show up, could not show up, or didn't know how, Moira Rose did, and she always made us laugh. In The Nightmare Before Christmas, Catherine O'Hara was the spooky misfit girl who stole our hearts with her song of yearning for the industrious Jack. She is our friend, our sensitive older sister, or maybe she is us, staring out at the moonlight, waiting for the day when she feels a little less alone. For Canadians, Catherine O'Hara was one of us. Even though we did not know her personally, she still felt like someone you could run into on Queen Street who would smile as you politely tried to convey all that she means to you. We are a small but mighty nation, and O'Hara connects to so many of the greats through her work at SCTV and Second City, including people like John Candy and Eugene Levy, two other national treasures. In fact, the John Candy documentary, I Like Me, premiered at TIFF this past September and left every single Canadian in existence sobbing through the entire picture as we saw and remembered how loved he was and still is, and how the entire nation mourned the loss of such a bright light in much the same way we are mourning the loss of the great O'Hara. Through the role she played, the archetypes she embodied, and the person we imagined her to be, Catherine O'Hara meant a great deal to us, both personally and collectively. Perhaps she was the loving but completely unhinged mother you never had, or the spooky friend you needed when you were a lonely teenager. Maybe she was there for you to make you laugh when you were at your lowest. Maybe she reminded you to be proud of your country. We never knew her personally, but through transference, this is a type of healing relationship. Healing happens when we are able to imagine people as who we need them to be, or they can meet those unmet needs, even if just for a little while. And for that, Catherine, we are so grateful. That, my ghouls, is my little tribute to Catherine O'Hara. My heart goes out to her family for their loss, to every Canadian, and to every person who felt a little richer, a little lighter, sillier, or spookier because this glorious woman existed. Mental Health is Horrifying is entirely researched, written, edited, and produced by me, Candace Green, registered and spooky psychotherapist. If you like this podcast, please consider rating and reviewing on your preferred listening platform. It really helps the show to reach all the other spooky ghouls out there, and I will be eternally grateful. And an eternity is a very long time for a vampire, okay? If you live in Ontario or Toronto and are interested in psychotherapy with me, I offer therapy virtually and in person for final girls who want to make sense out of the guts of their lives. I incorporate both tarot and dream work into my practice as tools to delve deeper into fields of psychic terrain. You can follow me on Instagram at Mental Health is Horrifying, and you can also learn more about me and my services through my website, manymoonstherapy.com. Or you can also howl at the moon and I will hear your call. Bright blessings.